Please welcome Sunny Hostin. Great color.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, before we get started, a little shoe cam, please.
Oh,
fabulous.
thank you.
Twist and turn and twist. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
So, I can believe this happened, and I was glad that you shared it. And it's, race needs to be talked about more.
That is true. I was reluctant to share it, actually.
Why?
I will tell you. Because I knew that it would get pickup. I knew that it would be Sunny Hostin from The View. And
so what?
I know.
But this happened to you. You weren't lying.
It happened, but I will tell you, right after it happened, I went over to Joy Behar's house. And she said, what's wrong with you? You're not your usual self. And I told her, and she said, we're talking about this on the show.
Yeah.
People need to hear this story.
Yeah. All right. So break it down for us.
Okay.
Give me the setting.
Well, we've been going to this vacation house for years.
In Sag Harbor?
In Sag Harbor,
Okay.
about 12 years, and we were playing charades, men against women. We were beating them. And
daytime or nighttime?
It was nighttime. It was very, very dark out, but we were on a deck, and the lights were on us. But the beach, it faces the beach. The beach was completely just pitch black.
Right.
And we heard the N-word, and we thought...
Right.
Like,
okay.
for a second, I was like, I didn't hear that. And then they chanted it again.
Okay.
And it was just more than one voice. And we all just jumped up. And my male friends started walking towards the beach. And I've got to tell you, I was terrified. And again, the first thing I did was I thought, I've got to call the police.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't see anyone, but we could hear them.
Yes.
And I started thinking about Charlottesville. And I started thinking about all the crazy stuff that's happening in the country. I started thinking about the fact that we were in a neighborhood that has a sign out front that says Historic African American Community. And I started thinking, have I been targeted? Have we been targeted? And I called the police. The one thing that I didn't say on our show is the police came. They were wonderful, Wendy. They went onto the beach. Everyone scattered. We spent the next half hour just sort of talking to each other and going around the room talking about the first time when the N-word was said to us.
Yeah.
And the kids came back. And I keep on saying kids, but they were in their early 20s. They were college age. They weren't little kids. And we called the police again. And, a couple of them were found. And
Now, as we all know, Sunny is biracial.
Yeah.
Your mom is Puerto Rican?
My mom is Puerto Rican and Jewish, and my dad is African American. And you can see them, growing up in the late 60s and early 70s, they don't look alike. And I was called a zebra growing up.
You grew up in the Bronx.
I grew up in the Bronx. People called me names. Once, my dad would come to pick me up. They were surprised that was my dad. My mom would come to pick me up. They were really surprised it was my mom. And even to get housing when I was growing up, my mom and dad and I, we would go to try to get an apartment, and we were trying to get an apartment in Manhattan, and they would never rent to us. My mom's name is Rosa Besa Cummings. She changed her name to Rose Cummings, applied on her own, and got the apartment.
Wow.
So I grew up experiencing this, but I always thought it would get better. And I'm sorry, I'm still so upset about it because
it's very upsetting.
I'm raising kids in this environment.
So your son is 15.
Really hard. Yeah.
And very tall.
He's about 6'1".
And your daughter
my daughter's tall also. She's about 5'6", 5'7".
How do you talk to particularly your son about this?
Yeah, and one thing I was thinking when we were out there, I was so thankful that my children were away at camp, because this is their safe place. I've raised them on that beach.
Wow.
I talk to my son differently than I talk to my daughter, and I don't know if that's the appropriate thing, but my son, I realized as soon as he was tall enough to look me in the eye, and I'm about 5'6", that people would consider him a threat. And I talk to him very honestly, and I say, I know you, I know your heart, I know that you're a star athlete, I know that you're a star student, but when you're walking around, and I know you're only 15.
Right.
But when you're walking around, people see an intimidating black kid. And, or black man. I don't think my son has ever gotten the benefit of being a child because he's been really tall forever.
Yeah.
And I tell him, if these things happen to you, if someone calls you names, if the police, when the police stop you, because it's not if, it's
Yes.
when. When they stop you, just come home to me. Forget about pride, forget about everything. Let me handle it when
Our
you come
son said that to me years ago. He said, I said to him, Kevin, you got one job and one job only.
Yeah.
And he said, Mommy, I know, and that's to come home to you.
Come home.
Yeah,
Come home.
come
and
home.
It's a fear of mine because I've been in law enforcement before I was on television. I was a prosecutor.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the Bronx projects. And I've seen death, I've seen destruction, and I don't want it to befall my family.
I would have been scared of a Molotov cocktail or something like that. You know, just these,
That's what we were thinking because when
I wouldn't have been able to sleep that night, and I might have closed down the vacation or something like that.
Well, I will tell you honestly, Wendy, what was so sad was my friend Floyd, who is one of my best friends. He was a Columbia football player, big guy, went to law school with me. He left the next morning. And we had the house through the weekend. And I said, Floyd, really? And he said, I'm done.
But you can't run. You know.
Oh, I'll be back.
Yeah,
I'll be back
same
at Sag
house,
Harbor.
same house.
Same house. They're not going to take my joy from me.
Yeah.
But I am happy in retrospect that we called the police, that we reported it. You know, I've received phone calls from the chief of police. I know that they're taking it seriously. I know they're investigating it as the hate crime that it was.
Yes.
And I think in this day and age, with the climate that's going on, we've got to speak about these things.
Yeah.
We've got to shine a light on them and say no more.
I know you said you were hesitant about the conversation, but I'm glad that you did have it.
Thank you.
Because I think that we all, as people of color, have our own little concerns, our own situations that we've run into. And this is not for nice other than black people to be, you know, if you're a nice white person, you don't be concerned with it. Just understand what we deal with every day.
Every day.
As people of color.
Yeah.
Every day.
It's unfortunate, but I think, you know, again, the fish rots from the head. And because of the rhetoric that we're hearing from this administration, because of the rhetoric that we're hearing in this country, I think there are more good people out there than not. I have received thousands of messages of support from this incident, and that just means that we all need to stick together and say, no, you are not going to call me names.
Yes.
You are not going to terrorize me.
And I'm not moving.
And I'm not moving.
All right, on a lighter note,
yes,
Sunny and her husband celebrate their 20th wedding anniversary next month.
Can you believe that?
That's good stuff. Good stuff. So
that's Manny and I at the Emmys, and he's a very private person. He never wants to go anywhere. I had to drag him. So when he sees this, he's going to be like, no, you didn't.
So are you doing anything special?
We honeymooned in Greece. We went back there for our 10-year anniversary, and we're going to go back there for our 20th.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
You can check out Sunny weekdays on The View.